Firstly, good afternoon. And I think that now the Gaza Strip it became a place that is not acceptable for life. While Israel is using the full destruction in the Gaza Strip, destroyed the infrastructure. Also, there was a human catastrophe, literally, and I think Israel is now is in a very dilemma strategically, and now Israel isn't able to make control of the conflict, and therefore won't be able to solve the problem. So now they manage the conflict militarily and more strongly by using all the mass destruction weapons via killing and displacing the Palestinian and using the food punishment such as this starvation, and it all comes through the apartheid and the genocide against the Palestinian people. And I think Israel, instead of going through solving the conflict, but now is increasing and escalating the conflict and making it more complicated. And these complications do not benefit the region, but reflecting the psychological situation on the region as a whole, and therefore it's creating a great breach between the Palestinian and the Arab people and Israel. As the policy, no one is agree upon, but all is calling about the policy of negotiation and solving the issue in order to get back to be on the table of the negotiations and to please all the parties in the region.
Before we talk about the negotiations that's ongoing right now, Major General, what is your opinion about the first question that I've put on right here in my first address to this broadcast? Do you think the United States shares responsibility for the Israeli war on Gaza? And do you think the United States has pressure on Israel regarding what's happening in Gaza?
I think and the horizon of negotiations are limited, and up till now there is no horizons for the solutions. And if the US changed its policy supporting Israel of the absolute support because the Democratic and the Republic parties in favor of Israel. Therefore, Israel is going through in their policy against the Palestinian people, and the United States wants to let Israel to practice domination upon the Middle East for the purpose of their interest. And I think through the negotiation is trying to make delusions that there is a political mobilization, but up till now we do not see anything happening on the ground. And maybe there will be a progress in negotiations with respect to Lebanon and Hezbollah, but with respect to Palestine in general, we do not see anything. There is no tangible progress up till now through the negotiation of finding Middle East. The solutions are all known, and I think the only solution is to withdraw Israel before the 7th of October and to have an international conference for peace, and all the parties to accept and apply all the international laws. But what we see in the ground now, that Israel is closed UNRWA and breached all the international charters, and by closing all the peaceful solutions before the Palestinians. Therefore, the Palestinians have only one solution: to stay in their lands. It's the only solution in this stage. If the situation is changed, there is are actually Arab and mobilization towards this cause, but there is no real U.S. pressures against Israel for the sake of ceasefire and reaching a peaceful solution that would accepted by all parties.
What is the importance and the impact and the role of weapons export? When we talk about the main question here in this episode, the weapons export and the weapons assistance of the United States to Israel in light of the peaceful talks or the ceasefire discourse that's been ongoing. Do you think there's contradiction here?
As I said, the United States, there isn't a contradiction in their policy. As I said, that they want to sell the solutions in achieving peace, and if they want to, so they shouldn't export the arms, and by cost of $6.5 billion. If they want to cease a fire and regional war in the region, shouldn't have practiced economic pressures upon Israel, and they should have practiced pressures in Israel in Security Council. And therefore, the United States have all cards, not Israel. And I think if America wish to have a ceasefire, we wouldn't have within only 24 hours to do so.
But the United States has halted weapons assistance to Israel before, or at least they have declared that they're halting weapons export and weapons assistance to Israel in some occasions. Do you think that can have any kind of pressure or role, or even describe the U.S. stance towards Israel and its war on Gaza right now?
These military systems give us more strength to Israel, and if Netanyahu think when they receive these types of military systems that brought to bios under the theme of afraid of the evil axis, and therefore don't accept or achieve anything but to have more solid and reluctant stances by Israel. Even lately, up till now, before minutes ago, we've seen the Israeli aircraft bombarded Gaza directly. As I live closely, and I can see this by eye, directing the Gaza Strip, as it has become unacceptable, uninhabitable, and as the infrastructure been destroyed, and even the people don't have real armies the same as Israel, and therefore they use the policy of destruction, displacement, in order to displace the Palestinian people, which is the main goal of the Israeli government that they pursue this time.
How do you assess the effectiveness of military strategies used by the Israeli occupation forces right now in Gaza and specifically in the north?
These types of arms supported by America, the Palestinians don't have any arm, and therefore before these very advanced technological arms, as their main target is the threat of missiles launched by Hezbollah, Iran, and Yemen. And therefore, instead of pursuing Israel in peace and stability in the region, but they are expanding the war north and south. And Netanyahu, as supported by the American military, they expand this type of war. Whoever wish to peace do not buy arms of billions of US dollars, such as the mass destruction weapons, and this money should be put for the development and peace. This is the question that should be asked before the United States. Instead of exporting these arms, why do not use this money for building the infrastructure and let the people live in peace and security? And for how long this war is going to last? If it is more 1 year of more destruction. In fact, Israel killed and displaced, but ultimately they will be the sole loser. Ultimately, they will have no peace and security in the region without give the human legitimate right for the Palestinian rights.
I'm glad you brought up rebuilding and what has been destroyed in Gaza and in many towns. Do you think there's hope for any kind of talks that would be around rebuilding the infrastructure and trying to get over the destruction that happened in Gaza in many towns, and it's not just in the north? And do you think negotiations are possible towards such a subject right now?
I think if there is a ceasefire and withdrawal from Israel and exchange of prisoners and make it to hold an international conference, and I think the rebuilding isn't complicated, and many of world cities being destroyed following the Second and First World War, and as long as there is a will, as the Palestinian people wish to live in peacefully and
but hasn't the day after the war been a subject of disagreement in many of the negotiations, Major General?
What did you mean by our parties, the Palestinian or
the day after the war in Gaza?
There is an only legitimate Palestinian party, which is the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and more than 130 countries acknowledged the cause of Palestinian. And the issue of the second day after war, there won't be no problem with the Palestinian, but the issue is with Israel. And I think the second day of war, and I think the Arab countries and the PLO and all the Palestinian factions will agree on the solution. Ultimately, the Palestinian people only look forward hope, construction, and to live in peace and stability be with the other people, and the war is not a habit, and until it's happened, we have the following theory of war. We are in need of development, construction, and development, and I may say that we have an experiment in the election in democratic way, and whoever is willing to lead the case, not an or before the authority, but the issue is the presence of occupation that complicated the situation on the ground without the occupation. And I think it is high time to be the last occupation is in Palestine, and it's a high time for the whole world to call upon Israel and to sit on the table of negotiation within international consent led by the Arab countries, with all parties, with the Quartet group and the United States, in order to reach a coincidence between the situation. And if there is a problem in Palestinian, the ballot box will be the role within the methodology of democracy as it is there in place before the Palestinian people, and all the institutions should be established through elections such as the municipalities and all the local development authorities. Therefore, for the whole world to respect this type of elections, and as a result, the world will accept it to continue have a normal life.
Has there been any kind of international pressure influencing U.S. foreign policy in the region?
Certainly, there are international pressures as they're in place as always. And for Israel, there is no international pressures. Normally, the United States and Europe support Israel, and publicly they say that they have with the two state solutions. These countries are all biased before Israel, and I think that the international pressure should be practiced against all parties. Ultimately, everyone should be committed with the international legitimate resolutions. If the world community wish to be committed, what's the meaning of this type of legitimacy, and therefore would be useless. Therefore, we should all respect all legitimate international legitimacy, and the party that rejects this, why the UN General Assembly should adopt the 7th Article in United Nations that has the strength, the power by force to be accepted. And I think this solution would be accepted by all parties.
When we talk about international pressure and when we talk about military assistance, what is the difference between the U.S. policy towards military assistance for Israel and the European assistance towards Israel? Because there has been many claims and stances by European countries. If it's the European Union, also had claims and stances towards what's happening in Gaza. They've been very concerned about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. They've said many times that the war on Gaza should stop. However, there has been statements by Germany, for example, stating that they support Israel to defend itself towards any kind of aggression. That's based on what the foreign minister of Germany said.
Europe is divided vis-à-vis the Arab-Israeli conflict, but France has a very advanced one. Britain has always feel the issue of Holocaust against the Jewish people, and by saying that Israel is defending itself. But who is the aggressor? Is the destruction in Gaza, killing children, is self-defense? I do not understand the issue. This should be the aggressor Israel, not the one that's been aggressed upon. Without an occupation, the Palestinians be defending themselves as they do so. And the United States is so always saying that they defend themselves, but it is an authority that is based by the occupation and themselves practicing aggression against the civilians and everything, destroying everything in Gaza Strip. But what's been done by Israel is a full destruction, not a self-defense. If Israel had occupied, would have been defending themselves against the aggression, but they are the aggressor on daily basis by the settlers, the Zionists, they do this aggressions 24 hours a day, and without any respect of human rights, international consideration. Therefore, there is a state of settlers, and this, by the name of Israel, that would lead of a long-standing war. No one would know their results, and therefore the European countries should stop exporting military systems to Israel, and therefore stopping the aggression of Israel against the Palestinian people.